we did there was a park that opened here. And again, we didn't get much notice, so we didn't do crazy amount of stuff. But we showed up with 10, 12, 15 people, and we did a demonstration. But the demonstration was for the audience to participate. It wasn't just for them to watch my students do it. It was to get them up off the grass and look at the stage. And we did our opening thing. And I said, everybody stand up. And everybody stood up. Half the people stood up. I said, come on, you can do better than that. Everybody stood up, right? I said, everybody attention. And everybody, there was probably 100 people there. I said, everybody bow. And everybody bowed. It was just really cool. And I'm like, awesome, here we go. Everybody, horse stance, yeah. And we'd go to horse stance. And I said, make sure you got room. Don't punch anybody next to you. Everybody go, yeah. And just this whole loud, yeah, from the whole park. People that were over in the downtown area, people that were walking around, all like, what is going on? And it drew people in. And not only did it draw them in from the standpoint of the noise and the show, but it drew them in from the activity. Because there they are, never done a martial arts class in their life, standing in horse stance with their kid next to them and their husband on the other side going, hiya, hiya. And every punch, they're like, wow, that was fun. Yes, wow, I can do this. Wow, this is amazing.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Conversations from the Hearth. Today, we are joined again by Master Popper from Martial Arts Institute North out in Overland Park, Kansas. Master Popper, thank you for coming back on the show.
Oh, man, I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this ever since we talked about it. I had such a great time last time. I can't wait to participate again.
Sure.
Yeah, we're super stoked to have you. So when was the last time we brought you on? Were you talking about
my martial arts journey? Because mine's a little different. I started as an adult. Yeah, we actually, I apologize. That went really long.
Oh no, that was one of our best.
That one up a little bit. So
no, you're a great talker, and your episode was awesome.
Yes, sir.
We haven't had you back on since then.
No, but you came out for our belt fest, which was amazing. We had a nice dinner and got meat poisoning. And you know, steakhouses are known for that. They're amazing.
That was awesome.
That was awesome. I'm so glad to have you be able to come out and meet some of my students and participate. It was amazing. They're still talking about you. So
no, you have a great school out there. I was totally honored, and I met some great martial artists out there, and I was very impressed with your program. So, I hope it's just the beginning of a long relationship, and we hope to have you come out here sometime soon and maybe sit in our evaluation or something like that. That'd be fun.
Can't wait.
So the topic for today, as you guys know, Master Popper's been doing martial arts for a long time, 20 plus years or something like that. And he's got a school out there, big school, a lot of students, great after school program. And anything else you want to tell them about your martial arts training before we get into it?
We're a traditional Taekwondo school. We've offset into some of the self-defense aspects of martial arts training. We still have some people that like to compete, so we're pretty active on the sports scene here in Kansas City. But yeah, I mean, I like to think of ourselves as a well-rounded martial arts school. We're not just sport. We're not just self-defense. We like to maintain some of the traditional aspects of training. And, it's interesting. I'm sure we'll get into this as we go. It's interesting how demo team kind of spans that whole range from traditional to self-defense to sport. And I almost look at like those guys that were on America's Got Talent and they were flying through the air. I mean, that's not really traditional. It's not really self-defense, but it's certainly a sport. I mean, that was pretty cool. So
definitely cool. Definitely
Yes,
cool. So I guess with that said, let's start out with demo team and martial arts for demonstration. You kind of broke it down into 3 categories. That's really interesting. So, when putting together a demo team, you can put it together in a lot of different ways. Like the America's Got Talent demonstration by those Taekwondo practitioners who were fantastic. Were just awesome.
Crazy.
Yeah, I definitely would consider that a little more of the sport, more of the tricking side of things, where you're just trying to look the most amazing, flipping upside down, doing all this kind of stuff. But of course, you can also do a demonstration that's very realistic and really self-defense oriented. It might not be quite as flashy, but sometimes, really simple things done very well can be equally as impressive. What was the third one? You said self-defense, you said sport.
And marketing. What is the purpose of your demonstration? As school owners, obviously our goal is to get new students and to draw people to the sport of martial arts.
Yeah.
And you sit here and you watch the American Got Talent people flipping through the air. You got a 40-year-old woman with 3 kids and her husband sitting there watching that, amazed, but they're not 1 second thinking, I could do that. It's they're just impressed with it's an entertainment. So I think there's so many things that go into a demo team. Obviously, first and foremost is your school. Do you have a lot of low belts? Do you have a lot of black belts that have trained for a long time and have exhibited skill, but maybe don't have that backflip board break or the 540? Those kinds of kicks, but they're still really solid martial artists and really good at what they're doing. So what you need to do, in my humble opinion, is you need to play to the strength of your school. How much time do they have to train? Do they want to train? Are they willing to come in on a Saturday and put in an hour or two every Saturday for 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 15 weeks before an event? If not, then you have to tailor your demonstration to fit the time frame that you have, the student counts that you have, and what the goal of your demonstration is. We've had there's competition demonstration teams, there's show demonstration teams where people just want something super flashy, and then there's marketing opportunities, parades, building openings, different live events around the city. Those 3 aspects kind of play into how I put together a team. I had a grandfather of a student owns an advertising agency, and they wanted it was breaking through was their theme, and they wanted to have a demonstration team come in of kids and break a bunch of boards and make it fun and exciting to open their meeting. So this was their advertising. There was probably 300 people there, and we had 2 weeks, and it was summer, and everybody's on vacation, and we're like, oh, where am I going to come up with 15, 20 people that I can train up and put together something that's positive and accomplishes what the client's goal was for our demonstration team? So we went, and I believe Master Olds, I think you saw the demo that we did. And we actually, this is funny. We had a girl, a young lady, she was probably 10, who literally had come in for a trial class on the day of that they came in and said, we want this demonstration. And she was very athletic, picked it up really, really fast. I threw her in a uniform and a white belt and said, you're going to be in a demonstration in front of 300 people. We're going to have so much fun. And her mom's like, are you kidding me? But we created something that was easily done. To do a hammer fist and break a board, or a front snap kick or roundhouse to break a board, I mean, it really doesn't require a great deal of, oh my God, I need to train for years, especially when you're using demo boards. But oh my God, that girl's still with me. She loves martial arts. She wants to be a junior leader. I mean, it was a catalyst that jump-started her into it. And that's the other thing that people need to understand when they're putting together a demonstration team. It's not just for the people you're performing for. It's for your students. They get a chance to show off, if you will, their technique and their abilities. And they get that opportunity to get out there and just, this is their game. In soccer, you got practices and you got games. In martial arts, you got practice, health test, practice, competition, practice, demo team, right? So there's a lot more practicing in martial arts than a lot of other sports as far as number of practices per game.
Yeah.
So demo team gives you that opportunity from a parent standpoint. I mean, I know we're talking to some of your parents out there. You know, demo team's a great opportunity to help foster that martial art love for your students. You know, get them involved. The more they do, the more they learn, the more engaged they're going to be in their training. And, you know, I just see demo team as such a wonderful opportunity to kind of foster that love of martial arts.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. That
Wow.
that was a lot
Yes,
right
sir.
there. That was really well. No, it was, you know, that video you did show me when I was out there visiting, and I was so impressed that I sent it back to Miss Reeves, who's kind of helping me with our demo team back here, and she was very impressed as well. And it's so surprising that you only had a couple of weeks to put that together, because it looked really, really good. And I think it goes to show that you don't really need to do that much flashy stuff to make it look good. You just need to do it very well. And
Exactly.
we had just taken our team to a big tournament on the north side of Austin. It was the KNSU International President's Cup, and they had brought the KNSU team over from Korea. And I mean, not even getting to the team, all of the national teams that had come together for this tournament were superb, you know, already. But then when the KNSU team got out there, it was just like another level. I mean, they're flying 30 feet up in the air, and it's just, you know, breaking 7 boards at one time. And, you know, you'd think I brought my demo team out there to inspire them, but they come back like kind of like limping and head down, like ashamed of themselves, you know. They're like, "Oh man, we just should quit." And I'm like, guys, you know, you don't need to do all of that to be impressive. And you know, I've been trying to coach them, you know, since that KNSU championship, and we just had our first demo the other night for our holiday party, which was good. I think it was a good morale boost to finally get a demo on the books. And, you know, it was very simple. You know, they did, you know, a little fight choreo, a form, and some board breaking, but they did it well, and it had some nice, you know, music in the background. And that's really what it's all about. That's how you get started. And we can always go up from there. And I think until they saw themselves polish it up and see the difference that really makes, it was hard for them to realize that you don't have to do like, you know, a you know, bunch of flips or something to make it look really special.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And one of the things that I've tried to do, especially when I have some people that are better athletes, maybe, I try to incorporate what they want to do into the demo as well. You know, it's one thing for me to have a vision of the demonstration. It's another for them. We were at a tournament in Kansas City Classic. Master Gotro runs a great school out of Blue Springs, Missouri. And he holds a tournament, and they always have this demo team breaking thing, or demo team competition. And we never competed in it before. And but one of the things that I always watch in the demo team is, let's say your demo team's 15 people, right? Yeah. And you come out, you open up, you do kicking, punching, whatever, blocking, whatever you do as a group. And the thing that always drives me nuts at demo team is then 13 of them all step back, and some 35-year-old masters flipping and breaking boards with standing on chairs, and for the next 5 minutes you're just watching him do his stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, I mean, basically he's doing a breaking competition for himself, and everybody's cheering and handing boards, but there's not that cohesion. One of the coolest demos that I saw was, and it inspired some of my teens to put together a theme for a team, was it was a story. They told a story with their martial arts. There was and I don't remember all the stuff, but they had a team, and it was trying to build up this little white belt who, you know, here, we're going to work with you here. And then they do it. And then next, the big finale was they were up against this big person here, their bully or whatever. And they had a choreographed fight and the guy took him down and went, and it was fun. From a martial arts standpoint, was it high level? Not really. But from a choreography standpoint and from a show standpoint, you had the audience cheering, you had the audience clapping, you engaged the audience. And so my teens took that and they did like a Sharks versus Jets kind of West Side Story thing.
Yeah.
And so they came up with this whole big thing. And, this group would do a move or a form or hand techniques or whatever, and then point, and then the other group would have to pick up where they left off and point back. And, it's just a big interaction thing. So then they, whatever, and they bring out some boards, and then they're doing all these crazy breaks. And there was one kid, 16, just amazing athlete, did a 540. And everybody, oh, that's awesome, right? And then out comes this little 6-year-old who's like this big, like micro kid, and she brings out this board and hands it to somebody, and he steps back and he holds it like this. He goes like this. There's no way she could hit that board, right? And just keeps going up, up, up. And she looks over and goes like this. They bring a chair and he stands up on the chair and he's holding it up like this. She's like, that's it. She walks back and she runs up, and somebody from the side comes up, picks her up, she breaks the board, and everybody goes nuts. And it was so much fun. She loved it. They loved it. The kids loved it. The audience loved it. It was so much fun. So creativity, I think, especially in traditional martial arts, we're pretty much rote. It's this, and then this, and then this. Demo team gives you that opportunity to kind of expand that creativity. Some things you've always wanted to try, things you've always looked at and said, that was really cool. Whether it's your style or not is irrelevant. It's an opportunity to do it. And if you can package it all up in an entertaining bundle, now all of a sudden you've got something. And I want to, if it's all right, I want to step back a little bit to like live event demos, using that concept of making it entertaining and engaging. We did there was a park that opened here. And again, we didn't get much notice, so we didn't do crazy amount of stuff. But we showed up with 10, 12, 15 people, and we did a demonstration. But the demonstration was for the audience to participate. It wasn't just for them to watch my students do it. It was to get them up off the grass and look at the stage. And we did our opening thing. And I said, everybody stand up. And everybody stood up. Half the people stood up. I said, come on, you can do better than that. Everybody stood up, right? I said, everybody attention. And everybody, there's probably 100 people there. I say, everybody bow. And everybody bowed. It was just really cool. And I'm like, awesome, here we go. Everybody, horse stance, hi-ya. And we go to horse stance. And I said, make sure you got room. Don't punch anybody next to you. Everybody go, hi-ya. And just this whole loud, hi-ya, hi-ya, from the whole park. People that were over in the downtown area, people that were walking around, all like, what is going on? And it drew people in. And not only did it draw them in from the standpoint of the noise and the show, but it drew them in from the activity. Because there they are, never done a martial arts class in their life, standing in horse stance with their kid next to them and their husband on the other side going, hi-ya, hi-ya. And every punch, they're like, wow, that was fun. Yes, wow, I can do this. Wow, this is amazing. And so we picked up quite a few students from that event because we made it connectable to the people that were there. Now, if I did that at a demonstration tournament, we would not have a chance, right? But the goal of that was to entertain the crowd and to engage the audience. And if you can do those kinds of things, especially in that kind of an environment, that's an opportunity for you to actually generate some students and interest in your school.
Well, that's a really good idea because we do take our demo team to festivals a lot, especially we have one called Cobb Market Days, which is right next to our school. Like our school's just outside the city center, and in the center there's a park. and at that park, there's this festival. So we basically walk over from our school, and any way that we can try to get more people to come to the booth, get them engaged, get them feeling like this is something that they can do, the better. I mean, was sort of originally one of the reasons why we wanted to put together a team, is to, get that exposure, take some of our best students in the school and use them to help, market what we have to offer the community. And that's a great idea.
Yes, sir.
The other thing though is I've always tried to pay attention to this as well. Don't just make it your best students. Make it your students that have a great desire, because it's gonna show on their face when they're out there and they're so excited to be there. You can tell if somebody's just like walking in, it may look good, but they just don't have that. They don't have that energy, that engagement, right?
Yeah.
So I think you have to look at who you pick and allow for some diversity.
You know what, that student who's like totally unfocused, and then all of a sudden, like, he's supposed to hold the board and gets kicked in the face, or gets thrown and he lands on his head. I've had those students in our demo team before too. So you gotta kind of.
Yeah, and for me, it's more than I want to. And it's just my personal opinion. I set up a timeline. When I put together a demonstration, I have a timeline. I'm 3 weeks out, I'm 6 weeks out, I'm 2 weeks out, whatever it is. And I put together a timeline where every Saturday from 8 to 9:30, before class starts on Saturday, I need everybody there. We have 3 Saturdays if it's a 4-week program, right? I have 3 Saturdays. You better be there 2 out of 3. If you're not on the team. You're not going. And I don't care if you have soccer. I don't care if you have baseball. If you commit to the team, you have to commit to it just like you would commit to a soccer or baseball situation, because this is our game, right? So we have to be prepared. You don't practice, you don't play. I mean, that's been the mantra of coaches for years, right? And it's the same with demo team. And one of the challenges from my end of it is there's not always, especially when 2020 hit, there's not always a lot of opportunities, the same number of opportunities that there were pre-COVID. There's just not as much stuff out there. So when you could go 6 months between a demo or a year between a demo, and then all of a sudden you get 3 in the spring, and you're like, okay, we better put something together. And I don't believe in the idea of practicing demo team every Saturday ad nauseum with nothing at the end, because you're just practicing, you're just doing another martial arts class with a different spin, right? So whenever I get a demo, I try to set up that timeline, and then that expectation at that point from both my students and my parents and anybody else involved is they need to commit to this. If you can't, that's okay. I don't mind if you can't do it. If you can't do it, you can't do it. Life gets in the way. But if you do commit, this is the window, and this is what I need. And if we can do it, we're going to be amazing. If we can't, then we'll let the organizer know that we don't have enough interest at this point to put together what we feel like you would want. And I would much rather disappoint on the front end than disappoint on the back end as far as demo teams go.
We do have a ongoing demo team, and what's nice about that too is it becomes a demonstration class where we're working on those demonstration skills, which I can't set aside a lot of time to work on the demo stuff when I really want to be working on those self-defense skills every day. So having a special class where we can keep working on those demo skills, I think, is really important. And if you look at the top teams in the world or in the country, I mean, they are dedicated to their demo team every single day. I mean, you look at the KNSU demo team, those guys are working out 3 or 4 hours a day at least every day.
That's their job too. I mean, those guys, that's what they do for a living as well, right?
That's what they're going to school for. Yeah. But yeah.
Well, I like the idea of it. For me, it's I feel like I want to change it up all the time. Like we do some stuff that's always the same at demo team just because it's easy and everybody's done it and it's kind of connecting the class to the demo. And then we always try to put something new in, something different, something a little twist.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll practice. But I do like your idea. I mean, if I had 20 students or 10 students that were active, oh my God, demo team is the best. I would probably find that time to work with them on that level. For me, it's kind of hit or miss. We have a little bit of ebb and flow in extra activities. Like during the winter, we get a lot more extra buy-in. We have more people in sparring class on Saturdays. We have more people showing up for forms class on Saturdays. So because they're not outside, they're stuck inside because of the weather and all that. So we'll have more buy-in over inclement times of year. As far as commitment to bonus practice, I call it. But yeah, like I said, I like to have something specific that I'm working towards. And right now, honestly, my athletic teenagers, which are kind of the stars of those kinds of shows, I've got like 3 that are like big time involved. And but it's like, how do you fill in after that? You know, and there's a pretty big drop from high level athletic teenage black belts to mid belt, kind of going along trying to find their way in the martial arts world. So you got to kind of have to marry those two, what you have. And I think we started talking about that right off the bat was, what's your school makeup? What are you looking at from a student count, and what are their strengths and weaknesses? And as an instructor, you always try to train up the weaknesses and play to the strengths, right? But it's not always possible. There's only so many hours in the day. There's only so many minutes in a class, and you have to really focus on something that you need. You can improve quickly, and then fill in whatever else you have after that. And I kind of take that approach to demo team as well. Okay, I've got a good core of people. They've got great personalities. They have good facial expressions. They're quality martial artists. What can I do with that? Well, I can tell a story because they're going to play it off with their face. If they're a little more stoic, a little more introverted, then I'm going to play to the martial arts aspect of it purely in technical ability, because they'll be able to pull that off better. So I think it's like a living thing. Demo team kind of ebbs and flows based on student counts and participation and activities and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. Demonstration is not just about like, doing a grand demo in front of a crowd, but it's also like something we do every single day on the mats. When I call up a student to be my Yuki, that's also a demonstration. And it was something that we actually practice in our leadership team, like an instructor training program, is, how to do a good demo. In that kind of realm, what are your thoughts on demonstration?
Well, I agree. Anytime you can put somebody in front of somebody and have them try to explain or expand somebody else's knowledge, you're setting them up for success in life. I'm not just talking about martial arts. I'm talking about life. To be able to stand in front of somebody and communicate what you want to say in a way that they understand is a life skill that will never be wasted on any effort you put into that. What is it? I think the number one fear in the world is of public speaking. Number one. And here we have a perfect opportunity to break that at an early age. I know at my school, we do our warm-ups and stuff a little bit different. I have my students lead the warm-ups. We have a stretching routine kind of thing, and they learn it and they put in what they want to do. But I always have a orange belt, green belt, purple belt lead my warm-ups. For no other reason than to get them in front of people, have them be responsible for warming up the class. So you're talking 5-10 minutes, maybe 15. And two, it holds them accountable for the stretching routines. Do they know how to stretch? Do they know what to do? What do they need to do next? And it's always funny because the first time people get up in front of that class, it's like, because we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it's like, you know, when we're instructors, it's like 1, 2, 3, and you get somebody up there who's super nervous. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Everybody else, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then okay, do the next. How to do a sudden head touch? You go. It's like and all of a sudden they're done in like 3 minutes, and they've everything, and it's over in 3 minutes, and then they're stuck up there going, "Uh-oh, what now?" And I look over and I'll come bail them out a little bit, but I'll say, okay, so you ran through all of them in 3 minutes. So we're going to have to find something else to do. Well, what do we do? What do you want to do? Well, I want to do this. Oh, and let's do that. We can hold plank for 8 minutes if you want. And that's never a choice they pick. So it makes them get creative on the fly in front of people, which again, you know, we're talking pure demonstration. It demonstrates their knowledge. It demonstrates their opportunity to teach. The other thing that's neat is when you have people that you put into small groups, whether you're working on forms or a technique or whatever it is, we always try to break it up by belt so that they can work on certain things in a little smaller group. And we'll rotate the people that do that. And like you said, they have the opportunity to demonstrate their skill, but they also have that opportunity to understand their skill when they're out there. Like I'm a visual learner, but I'm not a videotape visual learner. I'm a interactive visual learner. You could, if I stood here and you explained the form and told me all the moves, I could see it, what it was, but I would never be able to do it unless we literally got out on the mats and you showed me and we did it. So for somebody to talk to me and tell me what to do versus show me what to do, I don't learn that way. So it's going to take me a lot longer. So being able to connect those things definitely helps, but that's a little different topic. Sorry.
No, I think that's great. I mean, that's part of figuring out how to put together a good demonstration for the class, you know.
Absolutely.
We do it in our,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go for it.
I say a lot of it stems from confidence too. You know, I have a 70-year-old lady who is from India, and in her culture, you met Molly, I think. She just is absolutely the most amazing lady, but when she came, she had no self-confidence, and she made it to second degree at another school, and she came over to our school after it closed, and my whole thing was to build her up and teach her how to get in front of people, because she came over here and she says, your students are so good. Your students are, I don't deserve a second degree. I shouldn't be. And I'm like, don't discount your journey. Just let's train. Let's see how it goes. And you know, I said, I'd like you to be able to get in front of people and help teach and work with people. She said, oh, I could never do that. And so the spin was, Molly, will you do me a favor? Will you just go watch them for just a minute? And if they have anything, if they need correction, would you mind just kind of, oh, no, I can do that. And she went and did it. I did it to her for about 2 weeks. I put her with different groups, different color belts, different techniques, different whatever. I pulled her in my office. I said, Molly, congratulations. She says, what? I said, you just taught 2 weeks of class. You weren't responsible for the curriculum. You were responsible purely for working with the students on what I asked you to work on, but you taught them. Just that light bulb. Really? And, you know, I think that now I can have her do whatever she, you know, whatever she's in her wheelhouse. You know, at 70, she's not going to teach somebody at 540. But, you know, I can put her anywhere, anytime. And she's like, yes, sir. And she right over. And it's not even a thought because she knows she can do it. And same with demo team. I mean, you're up on that stage and you got 300 people clapping and going nuts, and you break your board and everybody goes, ah, you know, it's different than belt testing because you're in front of your peers, you're in front of your parents. Here are perfect strangers going nuts over something you just did. I mean, it's just like, I'm awesome, you know. And, you know, I think too, from a instructor and standpoint, sometimes we discount what the impressiveness of what we do on a daily basis. And it's funny because I've watched demo teams and stuff, and I thought that was pretty remedial, but boy, the quality of striking and the continuity of the team and all that, that was really, really well done. Or I've seen it where it's just train wreck. We've all seen those demos too, right? And you know, sometimes I go into a demo expecting what you saw from the national team, right? You know, those crazy over the top. And then when I bring my team in and I don't do that, I sometimes discount what we're doing. And then I look out there and I see people going nuts, and I see my students just having the time of their life, and they look good and they're excited and they're reinvigorated. And it's like, you know what? I just need to not worry about it. You know, if they're having fun, by God, let's do this, right? And if there's anybody out there that's watching this that has never done a demo team before, just do it. I mean, it's not even about how amazing it is, it's about preparation. And if you have a plan, and you can look me up on Facebook, I'll be happy to help. I'm sure Master Olds, you're the same, but if you're just looking to just come up with some simple stuff just to get started, I mean, we're all white belts first, right? And, you know, hopefully we weren't embarrassed to be a white belt. You know, we just, you know, when we go to the next level, the next level, the next level, and just keep moving forward. It's when you don't try and you don't do it, all of a sudden you're stuck right where you're at, wondering, you know, I could have done a demo better than that, or I could have done this, or I could have done that. And, you know, that's a shame. That's a shame.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. That's great advice, you know, for anyone looking to get started with a demo team. And I think every school should have their own for sure.
Yes, sir.
Jesse, what do you get on this
Yes,
conversation?
so coming back a little bit to we talked about demo team and going out and doing performances, whether it's for marketing, whether it's for, you know, just to show, like you said, show off, right? To show what it is that we as martial artists do. I do want to dive a little bit more into demo during class. We touched on it briefly, but what does it look like? And I think the experience that I am kind of wanting to explore a little bit is when you go out and you do invite that person up and you say, okay, you know, this person's going to help me demonstrate this technique, but then they don't know what they're doing, and you're up there and you're like, oh, this is not going quite the way that I thought it was going to go. And the importance of drilling for that moment and how that impacts the class. Because if you go up and you show a technique in an inspiring way, people are going to say, whoa, like you said, Master Robert, I can do that. Wow, I can do that. But if you go up and you're struggling on the technique you're demonstrating, they're not going to be confident at all that they can move into that. So
I think that falls into perception too.
okay.
Use it as an embarrassing moment or a teaching moment. I mean, we've all had failures, right?
Yes.
You know, my third degree test, I was up there, the second form or yellow belt form. We go right into it, ready to begin, and I just went completely blank. And I taught it every day for years, right? And we all have those moments. It's how you respond from that moment. So let's say you have little Alice comes up and say, Alice, show me a really good axe kick. Alice has one of the best axe kicks in the class. Alex throws her axe kick, she bends her knee first. It's not a sparring axe kick, it's a stretching axe kick. That's what I wanted to see. I want to see that straight leg up. And I'll look at Alice and say, that was amazing. You had great height on that, but can we try it again with our leg a little bit straighter?
Sure.
And Alice, yeah, I got this. It's not, no, you're not supposed to bend your knee, Alice. Try it again. It's perspective, right? How do you correct a demonstration, if you will, that doesn't go right? What happens when the board doesn't break? What happens if they miss, right? You drop the board, grab another one, next one's in. You had your shot, move on. You know, they'll get back through the line. If they're doing multiple breaks, they'll get back through the line. They'll go and do it again. It's not like everybody in the audience said, oh, that kid didn't break. That was a great demo, but that one kid didn't break that board. So when we're in class, and we do this a lot at our school, we'll do, especially like during forms weeks and stuff, we'll bring people up, we'll have a whole group do their form whole class, all the green belts. Okay, 준비, jump, ready, she shot, boom, they do it. Some people do it really well. Some people don't do it really well. Some people are just learning it because they just got a new belt. Some have been doing it because they weren't ready for the last test. So they're obviously going to be a little better. In that particular instance, I tend to put the people that I know the form in front. People like that don't maybe aren't as comfortable with it, I'll put them in back, but they'll do it as a group and they'll have the opportunity to show off in front of their friends. We joke around sometimes in class and we get creative in how we teach forms. The movements are the same, but we'll have them do it like an animal. So, we'll do penguin form where we're just sitting there going like, what, right? And this is for the little kids. Obviously you do it with teenagers, so you're going to look at you weird, but you do it with kids. So they're always trying new things. So when you bring them up in front, they're ready for that challenge. They're excited about that challenge. That's their moment to shine. And that's how I always try to present it when I bring them up. If they don't do it right, and they say, ooh, or whatever the students say, I say, okay, how many people have done that technique right every single time? Nobody. Let's let them try it again. You know what you did, right? You need to keep that leg straight, nice and high, axe kick, boom. And they do it. And then, yep, that's it. That was it. I'll bring people up that I know aren't going to be amazing just to give them the opportunity to try something in front of the class. If we're doing kicking week, I'll say, who can show me the best side kick? And I call them out. Somebody raise their hand. Yeah, you show me. Okay, perfect. What do we need to do with the chamber? What do we need to, whatever. Oh yeah, we got a chamber. Okay, show me one more. Ready, go. Boom. Yep, that was close. Let's do this. Everybody, boom. And so it's how you present it to your students. Master Olds kind of saw my style. I'm a little more casual with my students, and I'm a little more engaging on a individual level. I like to have fun in class. I like to make it interesting and exciting. So when I talk to my students, I'm never calling them out. They're used to me talking to them. They're used to me engaging them in that way. And as such, when they come up, they may be nervous, but they know I got their back, right? And I think from a demonstration, especially in a junior leadership type program, I have a young lady, Peyton, who's just an amazingly flexible. Her dad was a national competitor. She's really a great kid, and she's happy-go-lucky. But you know what? I'll have her demonstrate stuff, and I'm like, really, kid? And she looks at me like, I'm sorry, can I try it again? Yeah, go ahead, try it again. But it's to answer that question again, perspective. What are their expectations when they get up there? Obviously, they want to do it right for you, right? If you're the instructor and you pull them up, you put that on them, they want to do it right. And it's sometimes you call up people, because if you call the same person every time, what's that tell the other people? That they're not as good, that they're not going to be called up because they're not as good as Peyton, right? But you call that orange belt up and let them give it a shot. Or who's got the best 45? Show me. Who's got the best roundhouse? Show me. And now all of a sudden they're used to raising their hand. They want to volunteer. They want to try it. They want to be up there for everybody to go, ooh, that was awesome, right? So, I don't know if that answered it or not. Hopefully it did.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely. Thank you.
So on the same note, kind of going back to, Jesse's original question, one of the things I like to talk about with new staff members, leadership team members, even sometimes I have to talk to students because they don't quite get this when they're working with each other as partners, is how to be a good partner. I'll give you an example. We do a wrist lock as one of our self-defense techniques, which requires you to first break the wrist. It's kind of a surprise motion, but once the wrist is broken, it's hard to straighten the wrist back again. However, The defense against this technique is to tighten your wrist as hard as you can so that it can't be broken, right? That's the counter to the technique. But 9 times out of 10, if I pulled somebody up and I start talking, okay, so what you guys are going to do is you're going to break the wrist right here. The person will go, just make it as tight as they can. Yeah. And this is just a really good example of a bad partner. Because there's 2 things we can do here. One is we can spar. If I spar you, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do. And in fact, I might say, I'm going to break the wrist, and then I pop it off and I go for something completely different. I get into your mind and I make you think I'm going to do something and I do something else. That's part of sparring. But when you're doing a demo, you are trying to make that move in the most clear way possible so that everyone can understand how it functions. And in this particular example that I'm citing, when you focus on tightening your wrist, you're not thinking about holding on with your hand. Okay. So the whole defense is defense against the chest grab, like someone grabs onto your thing like this. And if I bend your wrist, then I can do the wrist lock. But if you tighten your wrist, then you're so focused on this that I can just easily pop it off like this and I can go for something else. I then have to, when the person tightens their wrist, I have to go into this full explanation of, well, this is what's happening. This is what you would do if you did this or this. Another good example might be like, if I'm trying to teach a hip throw and the person just sinks down with me, right? Because that's the counter to a hip throw is they try to get their hip to go lower than your hip and they just kind of sink with you. I mean, there's always a counter to every technique, but the beginner a lot of times will subconsciously do this and not even realize what they're doing. They're like trying to counter it, and especially when a beginner is afraid to fall. They're afraid to fall, so they're trying to do what they can do to avoid that, or they're, ooh, I'm afraid for that to get hurt, so I'm gonna tighten that up, you know. And I think that's a unique skill that is not talked about enough, is being a good Yuki. And it's such a complicated issue because for many years in some circles, compliancy training got to the point of extreme and lost a sense of reality. And so a lot of beginners think, oh, well, I don't want to be overly compliant because I want it to be realistic. But they're missing the whole point, because we're not sparring right now, guys. We're trying to demonstrate the technique to inspire the students to do them and do it in such a way that is easily accessible, easily viewable. And so that's one thing that I talk a lot about with my leadership team.
It goes both ways too. The person who takes the death grip on the 8-year-old and they can't get away. I mean, you know, you're teaching them a technique that they don't have the ability to perform, and then you're frustrating them and getting them to not believe they can do it. You know, I'm a firm believer in establishing an order. First of all, you have to learn the move, then you have to be able to be efficient and proficient with it, and then you can apply it. But there's a big amount of time of muscle memory and practice that goes from here to here. So you got that 10-year-old grabbing an 8-year-old girl's wrist as hard as he can, and she's sitting there going, and all she's doing is, I can't do this. The whole time she's thinking, I can't do this. When the drill was release the hand. Conversely, you have that kid that grabs like this, and you're out before you even finish your block because they're not grabbing enough to let them see the resistance. So you're absolutely right. Being a good partner is essential, especially in self-defense and in forms. You know, if you're sitting here telling somebody who's telling me, right? You're showing me, but not letting me do it with you over and over and over. I'm still not getting it. It's because I'm not walking through it with you.
Yeah.
Right. And so you need to shift your focus from just telling me, no, that's down block. Okay. Down block, 2-hand down. Okay. Right. And walking me through it. Now I can figure it out because I'm following you and I'm visually seeing you do what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
So yes, being able to do that is important.
Just kind of rebounding on what you're talking about there. It's like there's like two different ways you can go bad. One is you are just not even mentally there. You're like totally checked out. In which case, a lot of times the kids have the wrong foot forward. That's like we're doing some kind of foot sweep or something, and they got the wrong leg forward, and they got the wrong grip, and it's like, well, of course it's not going to work because everything is wrong to start out with, and you're not even paying attention. And then maybe they got everything wrong, and then they go down really hard because they don't really understand what they're doing, and they're not present in their mind when they're falling. So that's like a kind of ridiculous extreme on one end. And then the other extreme that you find a lot of times is you have two kids, and maybe one is more on that side, which is like he's kind of checked out, and the other kid is too checked in. And the kid who's too checked in, he's like really fighting it. So the kid, maybe they grab my shoulder or something, and I come up around, and the kid over on this side who's like more of the softer soul, he's got it basically right. But because this guy's like really like sparring him and like trying to, yeah, you're not going to get it unless like absolutely I can't take it anymore. This kid feels like I can't do it, right? And so, and then they switch, and the tough kid on this side, really hard, and the soft soul kid's like taps out real fast. So the tough kid feels like, yeah, I got this technique, and the soft soul kid feels like, oh, I don't have it. And the truth is, actually, sometimes the soft soul kid had it better than the tough kid, a lot better, but he's just the where they're tapping is very different. And so then this is what happens. Then the soft soul kid gets pissed off, like, oh, I must not be getting it. I'm just gonna jerk it, and he goes in and he goes like this. And then the hard kid goes, oh, what the heck, man? Why'd you do that? And it's like, yeah, because you were fighting it the whole time. You asked for it. And it's weird because the parent sitting in the audience doesn't understand. Like they don't know enough about physical contact, how all this stuff works, and they don't see what's going on. And so one of the things I tell my instructors is to be mindful of that, go around and cut that out before it manifests, because like people don't understand this. It's not a defense is not like a key goes into a lock and opens a door. That's not how it works, guys. It's like I have a crowbar and I gain extra leverage and I can lift a heavier object. It does if I'm trying to lift a truck with a crowbar, it doesn't matter how much more leverage I have. I'm not going to be able to lift up the car with the crowbar. I might be able to open the door with the crowbar. There are certain things that I can do. And so if I have a little girl who's three years old, and she's trying to escape the grip of a 300-pound, 6'5" man, the amount of leverages, the techniques that the technical proficiency is going to be required may be impossible or nearly impossible unless it's absolutely perfect for her to open it. Whereas for him to do it, it could be like non-existent, and I don't think people really understand that it's more of like percentages and shader bars than it's actually like yes, no, like works, doesn't work. That's not how it works actually.
I agree 100%, especially one of the cool things, bringing it back to demo team, and I think we were talking earlier, and I think you had mentioned you saw a demo where these guys were doing self-defense, and they would be standing there and they'd grab and they would literally do the move slow motion. And the next move they'd be like boom, right? They do whatever it was that they were doing fast. So here it is, super slow motion. This is what you're about to see, and then boom, the guy's on the ground. And so again, it's demonstrating this is the beginning, this is where you want to get to, and there's a ton of space, time, and commitment that goes between those two things. So yeah, I had my bicep tendon torn from an adult male who, when I grab enough that they have to work to get away, but I don't, once they get the move going, I don't fight it, right? And do it slow, do it slow, do it slow. Next thing I know, my arm's up behind my back and pop. I'm like, ugh! So, but adult males are really tough to train slow, because they don't feel like if they're not using full power and everything right off the bat, they're not doing it right. And it's not the case, but by that too, if as an instructor, and you're in front of the class, you take a kid and just whip them right down to the ground, or you take a teenager and put them down, put your knee in their back, you do that, what do you think they're going to want to do?
Yeah.
Right. So if as a demonstrator, if you're going super fast and you're just chucking them to the ground, then then that's what they think they need to do because Master Dave did that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Same thing when uh, from the same standpoint, if you have somebody says this doesn't work,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to show them that it does, say go ahead, resist, and then put them on the ground
Mm-hmm.
or whatever you're doing. Right. You can demonstrate both, but just remember your audience. Are you trying to get 5 to 12-year-old kids to learn a self-defense technique? Or are you trying to show a 250-pound, 6'2" man that he can be put on the ground with proper technique?
Mm-hmm.
What's the goal? So again, it all kind of comes back to that whole perspective thing, right?
Yeah.
What is your lesson? What are you trying to produce? What is your outcome? What outcome are you looking for? Are you looking for a bunch of people to be doing it correctly and slowly? Or are you looking for a bunch of people to go fight or flight and try to get out of a hole because their life depends on it? I mean, that's two totally different training methodologies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna just go off on one other. So there's like I want to say like two things about the kind of personal demos and stuff. One was what I just was talking about, which is make sure to be a good partner. But the second thing was, and this is more important, not necessarily when you're doing it in front of your students and you're teaching them a technique, but when I started to bring students onto the demo team, they had never thought about this before. And this is where it really starts coming in. Don't forget to be dramatic. When I started bringing on my people on my demo team, they were like going through the defenses like they were just sparring, I guess, or they were just very like wooden and rigid, and they weren't like acting it up, and that's not very exciting to watch. If someone hits you in the face, you got to move with it and make it look real. And I think that's another side of the sort of we were talking about. It doesn't have to be that athletic. It doesn't have to be that like technically superior to be impressive. It can be very simple but very well done. And one way to make it look really good without being too complicated is to make it the drama part of it done right. One of the things that I started working with my demo, and this is something I used to do with my brothers just growing up as a kid, was just like going back and forth. Okay, I want you to hit him. It doesn't matter how you hit them, and they have to react in the realistic way. So my hand's coming in, and when it gets here, your head is going to start moving like this, and you're going to, make a sound like you just got hit, right? But it's so funny, like kids would hit each other and they would like move the wrong direction like 2 minutes later and like, make some kind of weird sound that doesn't even sound realistic. And so like, that was like an exercise that we had been doing in our demo team, which is just like go back and forth and beat each other up and pretend to get hit and hurt. And it's actually been really helpful, It's surprising how bad people are at that. You'd think that everyone would be good at that, but they're not.
but I think part of that too is a personality base too. I think all three of us have that gene in us that says we can be dramatic if we need to, right? We can be excited. We can present ourselves in a certain way. I mean, let's face it. And okay, I'm not going to put this on you, but you can raise your hand if you agree. I've walked into my class. Okay, so you said we have an after school program. We had an after school program right between Christmas or Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's always chaos over there. Kids are excited about Christmas. They're excited about the holiday parties. They're going shopping. They're doing all this crazy stuff. And it's just like a minefield over there. People doing stuff they're not supposed to do, throwing stuff. And it drives me nuts. And there was a particularly bad day last week. I'm just like, right? And I had to go out and teach, and I could just feel I wasn't there. My whole demeanor wasn't there. But once I stepped out on the mats, the people that were over here, they're expecting me.
Yeah.
They don't care what I felt like. They
Mhm.
didn't care what was going on in my head.
Mhm.
They were expecting a good class, and I owed that to them. And you just kind of, when you're having that really bad day and then you flip it completely to the other side
Yeah.
and try to make, you're almost over the top. It was one of the best classes I taught, just because I was so engaged in not sharing this
Yeah.
and sharing something more positive. It was just an amazing class. And demo team is very similar. It doesn't matter whether you're super nervous, because that's the big one. Most people, uh, it's in fact a little bit of self-defense stuff. Most people, all the little minutia of the rolling the wrist and grabbing just right is gone. Your fight or flight kicks in, gross motor skills, that's all you got. Hyper focus, that's what you got, right? Same thing on a demo team.
Yeah.
Unless you've practiced it to the point that you can't mess it up,
Yeah.
you're going to mess it up, because all those emotions, all that fear, all that anxiety is going to come out when you walk out there. It's one thing to practice for the parents and before a belt test when you got 50, 60, 70, maybe 100 people. And it's another thing to walk on a stage in a big theater with 300 advertising executives sitting in the crowd with lights and music and all that. You can't reproduce that in the school.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a certain amount of dramatic components that go into it that you need to be able to play. The one thing though that I have learned is there are some people that will be good at it, and there will be some people that just are never going to get it.
Mhm.
And you have to, again, let me rephrase. I don't want to exclude a child or a student that is not maybe an extroverted type person that has these opportunities and stuff or these abilities to project and be dramatic, to not be able to be a part of something that they could be really good at if I give them the right role, right? Why there's all these different actors. They have certain, Tom Cruise is the action hero, he's really not a love interest, right? So you stay in your lane kind of, but you've got to find roles that fit you. And as the demo team director or organizer, it's up to me to play to those roles for the students that want to participate. And that's why I said I always kind of have that timeline, because I'll know who's there, I'll know my students, I'll know who's going to be really good at what, and we'll find roles for everybody. So
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
There's one more kind of realm of this that I want to tap into, and honestly, I think this might open up into a larger conversation for a later episode. But you were just talking about acting, right, and actors and action movies, and something we haven't touched on is martial arts demonstration in martial arts films, right? And one of my favorite questions that I get from students is, I pulled a student aside, one of my favorite students to work with, and I showed him a clip from Legend of the Drunken Master, right, Jackie Chan's amazing movie, and he said, "Is that real?" And I had to have this conversation with him, yes, it's real. It is real. It's real because they have trained and they are doing this in real time, and it's they're really doing this. Is it real? Like that guy's dead now? No, not like that. But drawing that line between.
How old was the student?
This was Corbin, so 11, 11, 12. But just that. The same thing happens when I'm out tabling and marketing and I have the wooden boards, right? People will say, "Is that real? Like, there's this kind of illusion around the martial arts. Is that real? Is that real?" And I just tell them, "Yeah, it's not like pretend. I don't know. It's an odd question to answer."
Well,
yeah,
one thing I just want to jump in there
Yes,
real
sir.
quick is that I don't know where that particular student was going with that question, because they could have been asking Could that really happen? Like, could it actually look like that in a self-defense situation? And
Yes, sir.
knowing that particular movie and the action that's in it, it's
Yes,
like it's
sir.
probably not going to look like that in real life, right? However, that's one of the coolest things about exploring demonstration as an aspect of the martial arts, where I think too many people get hung up on the only thing that's martial arts is fighting and self-defense, and it's not applicable and it doesn't orbit that realm. We don't even want to waste our time with it. We're not going to acknowledge it exists, and we're going to basically kind of like throw it out. And I think that's really wrong. I think that's a beautiful aspect of the martial arts that should be cherished, and those people should be recognized for their extreme skill. The people who came over here from KNSU and demo teams like that are training ridiculously hard, 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. And you'll see some people at, MMA schools over here who, training for a couple of months and they train a couple times a week that would just look down on them because they're not studying real martial arts. And I think that's really
You
wrong.
look at any professional athlete, and almost all of them have backgrounds in other sports. And if you look at, I don't know if you guys know Junior Seau, who's a linebacker for the Chargers. He was just totally into martial arts. Half the offensive linemen box. Why? Because it's good for their footwork, right? So you can take. Hopefully, they're never going to hit anybody out on the football field, right? Their training is not something that's going to help. Wide receivers took ballet, right? Really, ballet? Just to learn to pivot and twist and move. There's so much cross training. And I think anytime you limit your vision of what's possible, you limit your own abilities. And when you're narrow-minded on, oh, well, if I fought you, I'd kick your butt because I know MMA, because I'll take you to the ground. Okay, fine. Good luck getting inside. Strength against strength. Let's see. Right? But who cares? I'd love to get into more ground training. With Steve here, now I'll have that opportunity once my hip's better. And I wanna cross train into that. Is it Taekwondo? Not particularly. There's an aspect and a component of it, but it's definitely not martial arts, right? So yeah, no, I agree with you. I think demo team gives you that outlet for some of the creativity and some of those other things. And I think that's a great thing. I think that's a great thing. And as long as we can do that, it's always going to have a place in martial arts, right? To have that opportunity to because let's face it, if we want to go into the whole, is it applicable, is it whatever, it's only applicable, somebody who's really, really good is only applicable if they train, right? If you never train, if you never get engaged, if you're going to sit here and say MMA is the only route, the only way to do this, right? Because that's a true martial art. That's the true thing that you're working towards, right? And the barrier to entry of that is so high that you never get involved. Are you better off learning something that may be a little show-offy, self-defense-y type thing and train? Or are you better off not doing anything because, well, I can't be an MMA guy? Therein lies the thing. You got a 40-year-old accountant who wants to learn self-defense. He's not going to go into Winkleman's gym in New Mexico and train with John Jones like that. That's probably not how he's going to train. He's going to start at the beginning, and he's not going to be amazing. And everybody in the gym's going to take him down and hold him there. But he's in there. He's doing it, right? Same thing here. My school is stand up. We fight with our feet and our hands, right? We're not real grapplers. We're learning more and integrating more techniques for releases and things like that. But that's not what our core curriculum is. So when we go to learn new stuff, it's always great for everybody, but it just takes time. And to diminish a martial art over a technicality saying it won't work in real life, I think is doing a grave disservice.
That is very well said, sir.
Yes, sir.
And I think we're gonna have to let you go. But before we let you go, I think
Yes,
what
sir.
Jesse was trying to get to, and we were making it very hard for him to ask this question, is if you had to pick a fight scene from a movie, what would your favorite fight scene be?
I don't remember the movie, but it was Georges St. Pierre was on a ship, and I felt like the techniques that were used were pretty close to real.
Was this
Uh,
Marvel
Do
movies?
you know which one that was?
Was it one of the Marvel movies?
Yeah, yeah, it was in one of the Marvel movies, and he was on a ship, and he was fighting.
Winter
I
Soldier.
don't know, but it was really well done because it wasn't just this, right? He put his foot in the desk and boom, and followed right in behind. It looked like it was a real fight, as opposed to just this. We talked about dramatic, right? But yeah, I felt like that was my favorite fight scene.
Jesse?
I really do love the final fight in Legend of the Drunken Master. I mean, that fight scene is.
Doesn't he drink like propane or something?
He does. And he falls into a bed of coals. It is ridiculously.
It's like, how do you like your pizza? Do you like it like with a lot of oil on it, or do you like it like really high quality? I have to say that would be a really hard choice, but I'd go with two. I'd say Ombach is pretty ridiculously awesome. Hard to beat that. And then if I wanted to be a little bit more artsy, I would say Kira Obi. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that, but if you guys haven't, Kira Obi means black belt in Japanese. And that movie is amazing. It's a karate movie. Very simple action, like just standing, lunge forward, punch him in the face. The guy's unconscious, but it's beautiful. It's amazing. So you should see
I
it.
will say though, I did like, and just from an entertainment standpoint, I like that scene when Mike Tyson fought the IP man.
Oh, okay.
That was a pretty cool. And then it was what you had to last 1 minute, and right at the very end, they're just like this, and they're like this far. Tyson had just done a big cross, and he had just come in, and their fist stopped right here, right as that bell rang. It was pretty cool. I like that one too. I forgot about that one.
Nice.
You were talking about the old Japanese movies, and I'm like, okay, that was a cool one. So
Nice.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, sir. We'll have to have you back on another time. Really appreciate your insight on this topic.
always my pleasure, my friend. And if there's ever anything I can do for you, you just let me know. I'm there.
Absolutely. Well, best of luck. Take care, sir.
Thank you. You too.
If you enjoyed that podcast, please consider liking and subscribing to our YouTube channel, as well as hitting the notification bell. We offer in-person, group, and private lessons at our facility in Kyle, Texas, as well as virtual lessons anywhere in the world. If you'd like to learn more about our programs, you can find us online at risingphoenixtkd.com.